we're going to slide 43 and to Tel Mozan itself to see what's going on there. It's going to be a 10-hour journey across the Syrian desert, and that's no picnic. We're going to rent, as we did, a stretched limousine, which will carry a lot of gear and our people, but it was really crowded. We leave Damascus, and we cross the Syrian desert then to Palmyra, the famous city, and we cross the river Euphrates, very famous in the Bible. Then following the river Khabur, Khabur, up to the fifth season at Tel Mozan, within sight of the Turkish border. Abraham, no doubt, came this way. He went right up the Euphrates. He went near Haran, which is another town just to the west of where we were, so we're right on the biblical trail. When I say Turkish border, I mean that right across the border, within easy sight of where we were, and they told us if we ran out there that we'd be shot. So we didn't want to go out toward the Turkish border, and that was a good thing to know, but we could see the trucks driving along with the fence and everything. Let's see now let's see slide 44, which is looking back now toward the Tel, and it's a view south to the western side of the Tel. Notice that a Tel, like all Tels, is this mound. The one that I'm looking at here has a couple of trees on that western border. The town of Al-Muda is a little further to the right on this slide, where all the people lived that we were visiting all the time and were helping us work. To slide 45, we have the same. This view is also south, and it's a saddle between two of the 7 hills that constitute the Tel at Mozan. We think of 7 hills, we think perhaps of Rome or something, and this is a huge site, a very big site, and yet a lot of it has not been excavated yet by this time. In slide 46, we have Dr. Bucciolati, my professor at UCLA, and he is lecturing on the use of the theodolite. This is one of the instruments that we use to do measuring on the Tel. And the students there in the foreground are all have been brought from America, a lot of them from Pasadena, and they're going to be getting their first try at archaeology. And a lot of them were very, very good, and they were kind of like our bridge between us and the leadership. There was only 8 of us on staff, and the work went on the other side, so between the two there. Slide 47. Now we're in Marilyn Bucciolati's pottery shack. She had all of the pottery there, and 2 rooms of it, in fact, as I remember. And what you see there is one of the pieces of pottery, a big one that's been pushed into a sand bowl, and it's being glued at this time and repaired. And most of the pottery we had in this period was called Ninevite 5. It's kind of a green ware and dates to in the neighborhood of 2500 BC. But Maryland was a big part of the dig, and at any rate. On slide 48, I give you a little moment here for human interest. This is, I would call, a local conveyance. You see here a wagon with a family and a mule, or looks like a mule, that is taking the wagon along. And you saw a lot of that around the Tel. We actually jogged around the Tel, too, to keep in shape in those days, so that around the outside of the whole mound. In slide 49, we are going to be digging for a foundation for our film lab. And this happens to be a great thing to be able to do. If we're going to have a foundation for a building around there to put something up, why not do archaeology first, like the basement? And so we did. And we call this field BH. We had ABCs for all the numbers and so forth. And we found there private homes. Perhaps you might say a private house singular with several thresholds from this Nuzi period, N-U-Z-I, which is about the 15th century BC or so. By that, you see the door socket there in the middle of the picture. It looks like a stone with a hole in the middle of it. Well, that was one of the door posts that went into that. And you would have probably 3 thresholds piled up on top of each other. Not exactly, but the one would be the earliest, of course. And then another threshold for another house, a whole other century, perhaps a whole other family who lived there. And then maybe a third. So we were working in a family area there. And we also had out in the front yard, that is to the left of the slide, we had the remnants of tabuns or ovens. So think, I don't know, American Southwest perhaps, kind of like that. But they would cook the bread in there, and I'll tell you, there's nothing better tasting than what we would call pita bread right out of the oven. In slide 50, we are looking north across the entrance to the temple of the Hurrian god Kumarbi. I should write Kumarbi on the board perhaps for you. And he was a Hurrian god. So we're not talking about the Hittites. We're talking about the Hurrians. And this was their special deity, and he's pictured that way. And the temple, we believe, was built by King Tish-Atal. And this is, again, stuff that we would find on seals and various kinds of things, some literature too. We know about this place. And I could add a further note here that what we've thought all along is that this is the city of Urkesh. Dr. Bucciolati had this in his mind for a long time, and that's what's going to be the name of the place. And I'm kind of looking ahead and giving you a secret there. That's what we're going to be looking at. And where are we? About 2400 BC. That's a long time ago. Abraham I date to about 2165, 1992 or so. And so this is 300 years, well, about 350 years maybe before Abraham. So we are back there. Okay. Slide 51 is the temple entrance. As is often the case, nothing is left but low stubs of mud brick walls. You who think you want to go find it's a treasure hunt for you, want to go find some marvelous place, you expect it to be all still, glistening in the sun. And all you really find is something that's down about knee high, and it's kind of disappointing that way, so you have to imagine a lot and do it that way. The remnants of the plan, though, can usually be traced. We can look at it from above and get an idea when the walls don't help us much. It rains significantly in this part of the Fertile Crescent, that's where we are, in contrast to the deserts of Jordan and Arabia to the south. So that's going to make a difference in what we find in those low walls. Slide 52 shows a remnant of the inside of the back temple wall. So what we're looking at looks like maybe about like low hurdles. Different parts of the wall temples are showing here. I helped by working on the outside of that temple wall back against this picture. And I was excited because there was a fellow alongside of me that was digging next to me whose name is Mario Livarani, and he's a great author in Oriental Studies. That was a personal treat. To slide 53. Well, we opened 4 squares, 5 meters by 5 meters, all along the back of the temple. Opened up. We found reddish mud bricks delineated, especially in my square. And I'm trying there, and you see the picture of me kneeling down, holding my trowel at the level of one of the lines there. And it looks kind of strange, but we took those pictures in the soft light of about 6 o'clock in the morning or so, just at sunup for the very best photos. And you say, well, it looks like kind of boring. Why did you have so much trouble? Well, to get to the points you see there, I was, it's like digging through mud to find some rice-a-roni, the plaster on those walls. By slide 54, we have a big moment. Careful removal of an obsidian bowl fragment. And this was great because they're very hard to come across when they're in good shape. And the next slide, 55, is showing the work of the object registrar. And those persons are busy taking care of these sort of things and cleaning them up. And then we always have a display of some kind to show that what we'd found, particularly at the end of the dig. And these objects, including the obsidian bowl we mentioned, was especially good. This one was because it's from the rim to the base. So we have the whole height of it to do that. By slide 56, the task, at least for what we were doing, is completed to delineate that back wall of the Temple of Comarby. And the line of demarcation goes through the center of the shot. And by that I mean it's kind of hard to tell, but here's like, I almost want to say like the start of a horse race, because you've got slot 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're looking right across the noses of the horses from right to left here. As we had all 4 of us had drawn up there, and that was where we stopped, and that was the back of the temple, if you can get that feeling. In slide 57, you see what's left of some of my equipment, my thrashed Clark desert boots just outside my apartment door. I left them there. Perhaps someone will bury them, and the archaeological process will start all over. And they won't know where we came from, what period. And we have slide 58, and this takes a little moment to describe. The Kurds and the Arabs were so friendly and made great workmen. They got along with each other too. This was peaceful time in 88. This is a Mukhtar or mayor's grave site. It's enclosed in a modern mud brick walls, including these long staves, the plural of staff, that poke up into the sky, with strips of cloth that were tied there by family members and friends, identifying with the departed. Sticks with pieces of cloth hanging off them. That reminded me of Sioux Plains warriors in 19th century America. It looked like something from our Native Americans. So ended the 1988 season at Tel Mozan. Look up the site on your favorite device and see the further progress. You can do that by simply entering Tel Mozan. The Bucciolatis dug there for 16 years at Mozan, and you may find also a name, Federico Bucciolati, who has written up about the dig. He was about a 7th grader in 1988, but now he's one of the leading proponents of the whole thing and a contributor. In closing, this would be slide 59. I want to answer a question, and it will take a little bit to do this. Who were the Horites in the Bible? H-O-R-I-T-E-S. And who were the Hivites? I think they were both the same in Scripture. Well, a people found in the area where Abraham was, around Mount Seir, as early as his time, and conquered by Kedorlaomer and his allies. I'm talking about Genesis 14:6, Mount Seir, Kedorlaomer, Abraham, is one of the definitions of who were the Horites. Then, later, those were the early inhabitants before the Edomites dispossessed them and intermarried with them. So by later on, around 2000, we have Genesis 36:20 to 30, and also Deuteronomy 2:12 and 22. So we're talking about now the later period after the Horites, we have the Edomites. Esau married the daughter of one of their chieftains, also called a Hivite. So we get these three kinds of names together here and have Horites, Hurrians, and Hittites. And I think they all belong together like so. These come from and are really more known from history as the Hurrians. I even have some of their writing that I found in a few places. So it's three names for basically the same general tribe. So, and in the Hivites and the Horites are thought to go together in Genesis 34:2 and Joshua 9:7. In which case, then, the Horites lived as far north as Gibeon and Shechem in the time of Jacob's sons, and until the conquest under Joshua to that time. And even the Greek Old Testament, the Septuagint, makes this identification. So our point would be that if you have a tribe of people, and there we do, that are unknown, we think it's a confusion. Everybody said that they don't know anything about the Horites or where they were or what happened. In our excavation, we took the people of these names back from the second century millennium into second millennium into the third millennium, and we know also from the rest of the larger study, we can date Tel Mozan back to around 5000 BC. That's a long, long time, even before any of the patriarchs. So we believe that what we've done is make a great contribution to history.